Welcome to Leader You by Black River Performance Management, where we believe work should fuel the human spirit, not drain it. In this leadership podcast, we will dive into the lived experiences of people flourishing in today's workplace and beyond. Join us to hear real-life examples of experiences from our own lives and from the leaders we know and trust. So thank you for listening to the Leader You podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing a friend, Corvas Brinkerhoff. He is the founder of Meow Wolf and now a submersive bathing experience, and he's going to share with us a little bit about his journey and just how he's come to where he is today. So I got to meet Corvas, this friend of mine, about a year ago, actually this week, and I met him at MEA, Modern Elder Academy, where we were studying awe. I just was struck by his presence and really got to know him on a little bit deeper level, just learned what an amazing person he is and learned a lot more about Meow Wolf and what projects he's been working on, and he was so gracious to be on the podcast today. I'm excited to introduce you all. So here's Corvas's intro. Corvas is an artist and entrepreneur dedicated to unlocking the transformative power of human creativity. His work at Meow Wolf has inspired millions and produced some of the world's most ambitious and impactful immersive art installations. With his new venture, Submersive, Corvas has focused on using the power of art, science, technology, and public bathing to create a novel therapeutic immersive environment designed for healing, transformation, and expanding aliveness. Thank you for being on the show today, Corvas. I'm excited to share your wisdom with our listeners. So thank you for being here today, Corvas.
Yeah, Angie, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I should clarify that I'm one of the founders of Meow Wolf. There's 6 of us.
Okay.
And want to make sure to give credit to the other brilliant creative souls that helped me launch that enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah, so we started Meow Wolf in 2008, and it was really an exercise in unbridled creative expression and collaboration. And what can happen when a group of people come together with a shared interest in creating experiences for other people that are deeply transporting. How can we use the power of space and sound and art, architecture, lighting, video, storytelling? How can we bring all of these things together to create experiences that create a kind of pattern interrupt in one's daily life? Can we get you so far outside of the realm of what you thought was even possible that it causes you to question what is true and possible for you as an individual? And yeah, I'm really proud to say that Meow Wolf has become this kind of juggernaut in its emerging space that it inhabits in the world of immersive experience design, immersive art installation. We have now 5 locations open. We just opened Houston about a month ago, and added that to the portfolio, which includes Santa Fe, Dallas, Las Vegas, and Denver, along with the new one in Houston. And I'm so proud of the work that we've done at Meow Wolf, and it's such a beautiful thing. And yeah, it was just an incredible ride. It seemed almost impossible to turn an art collective into a viable business. A lot of the a lot of the sort of people that know better, so to speak, and in air quotes, were telling us, this is a nonprofit. This is an arts organization. You can't really, make a business out of making art and the way that you guys want to. And we just completely disregarded that and managed to beat the odds
So
and create a
cool.
really successful business out of our immersive art practice. Um, at the end of the day, Meow Wolf is a high novelty entertainment experience.
Hmm.
And so that's to say that it's unlike anything that you've experienced before. And it also um, can only kind of cut so deep in the sense that the novelty wears off over time.
Hmm.
And while we were building Meow Wolf in the very early years, I was going to a place outside of Santa Fe, which is where Meow Wolf was born and is still headquartered.
Hmm.
And I was going to a place called 10,000 Waves.
Hmm.
And if you don't know what 10,000 Waves is, it's one of the most um, special uh, spa bathhouse properties in the world.
Hmm.
It's up in the mountains, just about 15 minutes um, up the mountain from Santa Fe proper. And I was going there and experiencing the incredible power of contrast therapy. Now we have this beautiful language
Hmm.
for what I was experiencing back then.
Yeah.
I was maybe 10 years later when I would first hear the words contrast therapy,
Hmm.
but I knew what they meant. I'd been experiencing them for a long time. And
Hmm.
um, and so this would be maybe 15, 16 years ago. Um, and I was going from the sauna to the cold plunge to the sauna and back and forth and doing contrast therapy circuits. And it was deeply healing to what at that time was a pretty troubled mind
Hmm.
that that I was inhabiting and existing with. And I found that when I did these circuits, um, every single time I felt my mind release
Hmm.
and um, clear. My mind would be just like a smooth surface of like the beautiful reflective um, surface of a lake in the morning before the winds pick up, and it's just like perfectly smooth and reflective. And I thought, wow, this is really helping me. And also, wouldn't it be interesting if we use some of these elements, um, steam, sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, pools, waterfalls, showers, etc. Could we bring those elements into this immersive experience design practice
Hmm.
that I've been working with? And if we could, maybe we could create immersive experiences that were not only extremely novel, and interesting and engaging, but that had actual measurable therapeutic benefits
Hmm.
to the guest. And as an artist and designer, I want nothing more than to create work that has deep beauty and resonance and
Hmm.
value
Hmm.
to the people that I make it for.
Yeah.
And so that idea just kind of like it was actually born there. Like the first little bits of inspiration came to me while I was at 10,000 Waves. And I spent the last 15 plus years just dreaming about that.
Hmm.
And um, kind of quietly logging in my imagination uh, cool ways that these worlds could coalesce.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, really focused on Meow Wolf
Yeah.
and just kind of grinding it out. That was, to put it like extremely lightly, uh, an uphill battle
Hmm.
getting that group and that company off the ground. Um, it took a lot
Yeah.
out of all of us to get that thing going. And yeah, it stuck with me along the way. Could we create something that that has real transformative potential
Yeah.
to the guest. And and then something really strange happened to me, which is a few years into launching Meow Wolf, um, the business. The first phase of Meow Wolf was um, uh, I like to think of it as like this amorphous cloud of creative energy that would spontaneously converge and manifest these like really creative, beautiful, immersive environments, and then kind of disband again. It had like very little organizational structure or process or hierarchy or anything like that. Um, and uh, and then in 2016, we launched the first permanent exhibition. Everything up to that point had been these little temporary
Mm-hmm.
pop-ups. And yeah, so 2016 marked the birth of Meow Wolf as a business.
Mm-hmm.
We built an exhibition in Santa Fe that we hoped would get 100,000 people a year. And we built what became the biggest tourist attraction in New Mexico, getting 500,000 visitors
It's incredible.
a year. And the strange thing that happened to me was upon the success of that um, sort of proof of concept, you could say, that first permanent exhibition, um, all of my wildest dreams started coming true. And I got to create some of the most uh, ambitious and imaginative art projects in the world, with a bunch of my best friends
That's
and some of my biggest creative heroes.
mm-hmm.
Um, and the strange thing was, as all these dreams were coming true, I started to get this little voice in me that was saying, "There's something else. There's something else
Mm-hmm.
that you're meant to do." Which is really confusing when you've spent your, at that point, it was like basically my whole adult life
Mm-hmm.
trying to bring this one dream into reality. And then just as it was starting to form and solidify and actually happen, there was this dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just this kind of, at first, just this haunting kind of whisper in the back of my mind of like, there's something more meaningful
Mm-hmm.
and purposeful for you. Um, and I have always listened to those voices,
Mm-hmm.
and they've guided me. They guided me to Santa Fe to meet the other founders of Meow Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
They've guided me in so many ways in my life. And I knew I had to listen to that. And I thought, well, it's not quite the right time, but um, I hear you, and I'll come back to that. And I really didn't know where it was going to take me.
Right.
I had this dream of Submersive that had been brewing um, for years, but it wasn't clear to me yet, like that's what I was going to end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just knew that I think there's something more meaningful
Yeah.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and so a couple years ago, um, I took a sabbatical from Meow Wolf. I had opened the Las Vegas exhibition, which
Mm-hmm.
I led as the creative director, and um, I was listening to that voice and realizing, okay, I at least need to take some time off. While I was taking that time off, a very dear friend of mine, Matt King, died very suddenly and tragically.
Mm-hmm.
And literally while I was on the phone with Sean Diani, one of the other founders, Sean had the terrible task of making the calls and
Mm-hmm.
letting people know that Matt had just died. And it was literally while I was on the phone with Sean, within moments of hearing the news, that I heard this voice in me, and it said, it's time. And I knew exactly what that meant. It was time to leave
Mm-hmm.
Meow Wolf and to move on and to step off that rocket ship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but more importantly, it seemed to say it's time to do your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to step into your real uh, mission here in
Mm-hmm.
this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
which for me is not just about entertaining people, it's
Mm-hmm.
about healing and transformation.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of me stepping into my current role as the founder and CEO of Submersive, which is the world's first immersive art bathhouse that brings together immersive art, architecture, all the elements I named earlier
Mm-hmm.
that make Meow Wolf experiences really rich, all the things that you find in a bathhouse, um, and neuroscience,
Mm-hmm.
and bring these disparate worlds together to create really, really powerful experiences in the form of a new kind of spa or bathhouse.
That's
So
incredible.
that's what I'm working on
That's
today.
incredible. Is it open to the public yet?
No,
No.
no. So I'm in Austin,
Yes.
Texas right now. This is where we are building our proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the intention is to uh, demonstrate that there's demand
Mm-hmm.
for this new type of experience. We think Austin's a perfect place to do it
Mm-hmm.
uh, for a lot of reasons, but to name a few, Austin is a incredibly forward-thinking community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a incredibly high density of people who are committed to and experienced with having really big world-changing visions
Mm-hmm.
and bringing them into reality. And there's a community here that is deeply dedicated to their own um, health and wellness and evolution of their and the human collective consciousness through the way that they live their lives and through the things that they do and create.
Mm-hmm.
And so Austin seemed like a good fertile soil to
Yeah.
plant this seed.
Mm-hmm.
But the intention is to prove the concept here and then build submersive locations all over the world.
Nice. I'm excited to see how this is going and follow your journey and live a little bit vicariously through you. Obviously, when you have them open, I definitely want to experience it myself. What are you finding in the research, or are and what in this phase?
In the research,
Yeah, and how and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean we've done a lot of research.
Yeah.
A lot of I've been to 16 countries and many dozens of the world's best and some of the worst too. As I like the extremes,
Yeah.
but many of the world's best spas, bathhouses, and hot springs resorts.
Hmm.
Um, that's research I could happily do for the rest of my life and never work another day.
Agreed.
Um, but there was a point where I was like, okay, I've got to get this show on the road. It's expensive research,
Hmm.
and I've got a company to build. So
Hmm.
I spent most of 2023 in that research mode. We've also uh, engaged a number of neuroscientists
Hmm.
um, and been collecting a lot of really interesting information around what's emerging in our deepening understanding of how multisensory experiences um, impact us,
Hmm.
which is a pretty new field and a field that I would like Submersive to make a big contribution to
Hmm.
over the decades that we're operating. Um, and so I think of Submersive as a cool, interesting place to bring forward um, insights that have been gained from existing research,
Mhm.
but I actually think the more interesting element here is for Submersive itself to be a laboratory of sorts
Mhm.
where we are studying through various wearable sensor tech,
Mhm.
studying the various biometrics and um, and other markers of how our experiences are affecting people,
Mhm.
with the goal of building the world's deepest understanding of immersive experience design as a legitimate and potent form of therapy.
That is so cool.
So I think there's a lot a lot of interesting things out there, and there's a lot um, that I think either we or others will, it feels inevitable that this will happen, that will be uncovered as our kind of technological and scientific capacity continues to um, expand. There's a incredible, the Huberman Lab is a great
Yeah.
example. There is an incredible explosion of interest in neuroscience, and um, it feels like we're right at the very beginning of starting to understand how how things are really affecting us.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening, and I think a lot more that will happen. You and I met at a uh, Modern Elder Academy workshop,
Mhm.
which was incredible, with
Yeah. Yeah.
Dacher Keltner,
Mhm.
the author of the book Awe, a brilliant neuroscientist, and just um, one of the most inspiring people I think I've ever met.
Yeah. I'm getting
Um,
goosebumps.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he shares really interesting science on the emotion of awe,
Yeah.
um, which, if you look at kind of the philosophy of submersive, um, going to all these bathhouses and spas around the world,
Mhm.
they they all kind of do uh, do one thing really well, which is to get us into relaxation states,
Mhm.
to get us into the parasympathetic nervous system,
Yep.
which is so important.
Mhm.
Um, with submersive, we think there's an opportunity to reinvent these kind of ancient human traditions of public bathing.
Mhm.
And the idea is to create spaces that take us beyond relaxation
Mhm.
into elevated states
Mhm.
of, of consciousness. And those kind of target destination states that we're designing our experiences for are awe,
Mhm.
wonder,
Mhm.
euphoria, transcendence, unburdening,
Mhm.
inspiration, connection to self, connection to others,
Mhm.
connection to nature, and connection to the human imagination. Um, and so the science on awe is especially interesting to
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
because uh, that's one of the main places we want to take you in your internal state.
Yeah.
Um, and it's foundational to the um, way that we're thinking about our experiences, because if you experience awe, thanks to Dacker's research, we know that um, it basically brings the best out of human beings.
Yep.
It makes us more pro-social,
Mhm.
which means that we're more likely to connect with
Mhm.
other people and more available to connect and feel ourselves and our emotional states. Um, it's actually the only positive emotion known to decrease um, inflammation.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, as a entry point into a larger experience design, it makes us most available to change.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so, as a artist, um, and as an experience designer, if I want to if I want to create something that has the maximum beneficial impact on you,
Mhm.
it's really helpful if I can get you in a state of awe.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
then anything else that happens after that, your system is just like this wide open
Mhm.
bandwidth to stream in whatever other
Mhm.
information or state changes that we want to get you into. So, in Submersive, we have what we call our theory of change, which is basically the sequence that we think will um, optimize the experience for the maximum impact. And awe is one of the first steps in
Nice.
that sequence.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear more and just learn what you're doing and actually come experience it myself. That's what I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to. I bet you can't wait.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, like I'm building this for myself. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
I will be as delighted as anybody else to experience it and to get to be there and take it all in.
Yeah, that's incredible. What is the biggest hurdle that you are overcoming as you're navigating this piece of of the whole transition that you're going through from leaving Meow Wolf and starting this business? What do you think is really one of the biggest challenges?
I think the biggest challenge is honestly, it's like it's stepping into like complete absolute responsibility.
Mhm.
Um, Meow Wolf was a collective. It was a group.
Yeah.
And I got to experience so much growth
Mhm.
as a creator, as an artist, and as a leader.
Mhm.
And um, being one of the leaders of Meow Wolf. Um, and that was perfect. Like that was perfect for that stage of my life and where I was and what I needed to kind of propel me forward in my
Mhm.
development. Um, Stepping into this role, um, it's not, there aren't six founders.
Right.
There's one.
Mhm.
And if this vision succeeds, um, of course I'll get all kinds of great
Mhm.
benefits out of that. Um, and if it fails, it'll be completely on me.
Mhm.
Um, and that calls for a whole new orientation to how I think and spend my time and communicate.
Yeah.
And um, there's no I get th there's no space or utility in making excuses or
Mhm. Right.
there's no one to point to, oh well, if they had done this differently
Mhm.
then I wouldn't have done that. It's like it's just me,
Mhm.
myself, my dream,
Mhm.
and now a beautiful, like an incredible team of people
Mhm.
that are surrounding me, and really wow, a really incredible group of investors who are backing me, and so many others that are sort of touching this and helping make it happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's gonna live or die by my leadership, and yeah, that's such a big shift,
Yeah.
um, and to be honest, one that I'm just like, whether or not this is successful, I'm so grateful
Mhm.
to have the opportunity to experience this.
Mhm.
Um, and I have this kind of like belief that I can't fail because if objectively the business fails, I will have gotten to spend however many years um, in leadership
Mhm.
and not just leading, but in the kind of deep spiritual practice of leadership when
Mhm.
it's all ultimately up to you.
Right.
It's so much different um, than when your leadership is sort of diffused and spread out in a
Right.
group.
Yeah.
It's it calls for a much higher level of awareness.
For sure.
Um, and and there's no other way to learn or experience that
Yeah.
than to do it yourself. So yeah, whatever happens with this, and of course, I think it's going to be very successful.
I think so too.
Um,
I'm manifesting that with you.
um, I really think so, and I'd love to talk about why, because it's like
Yeah.
I really think so. But even if it's not, like I can't fail.
Yeah,
I will learn what I am here to learn.
for sure. I know that about you, that you are here to learn and you're a seeker of knowledge, and you are going to surround yourself with the right people to make sure that, there will be hiccups, but I love the vulnerability that you share, that the biggest obstacle right now is yourself,
Hmm.
because you are like, and that is such a huge realization in itself, that oftentimes we're our biggest obstacle. It's not the people around us. And this is getting in this space really is going to be so helpful for you to recognize that, be aware of it, be humble, ask for help, just things that you would never know that you need to do until you get pushed into, you get kind of thrust into that role, right?
Hmm.
You don't quite know what it is. You start taking the steps, and then all of a sudden here you are. And so you're there. And I think, like, don't you think humility is one of the best gifts that you can use and tap into to gain wisdom from people? They may not have done this, but you do have people in your world that are business people, entrepreneurs, investors, artists, all of these things that you can tap into the wisdom that they have.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, um, I am so, I have been so deeply blessed by many great mentors and
Mm-hmm.
um, founder of Modern Elder Academy,
Mm-hmm.
Chip Conley, is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm actually, and these are his books. uh, I like to read, but not not
Not
as
as
much
much
as
as
Chip.
Chip.
Yeah, I'm actually in a condo that he has here in Austin right now.
Oh, nice.
But he's one of many incredible um, people who have come into my life and shared wisdom with me and guided me. Um, and I was mentioning earlier how in the journey with Meow Wolf, I got to work with some of my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of them is the painter Alex Gray. He's a visionary artist, and his if you don't know his work, uh, it's just these incredible paintings that show kind of the full spectrum energy field around humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are these really rich anatomical um, renderings of human bodies um, and all kinds of incredible, beautiful contexts. Like yeah, his body of work is enormous, and I could spend a lot of time talking about it. But he was one of my first creative heroes
Mm-hmm.
when I was first studying drawing and painting, which would take me eventually to art school and kind of down this path that I'm
Mm-hmm.
on. Alex's work, he was the first living artist that I idolized,
Yeah.
and then later got to collaborate with him in with the Las Vegas exhibition, and uh, he is so deeply humble,
Mm.
and so many Chip is so
He
humble.
is.
So many of these people I've met who are incredibly successful have
Yeah.
reached like levels of success that are just so extraordinary and rare.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are deeply humble
I agree.
people just
Yeah.
in their way of being.
Yeah.
And I think there's something there. I think, like you were pointing at, humility gives us an openness to ask questions. I might be wrong about this, or
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea, but maybe someone else has a better idea, or I may have made a really bad assumption here, and maybe someone else can help me
Mm-hmm.
see that more clearly. I think so much you can't really be coached or
Right.
there's just so much growth and learning that's
Yeah.
not available if you're not humble. And for me, um, my kind of journey of personal development, um, which I've kind of always been on in different ways, but it really started to open up when I got humble and
Mm-hmm.
realized I can't do this on my own. I need people I can trust to like
Mm-hmm.
help me see myself
Right.
clearly and help me see my blind spots and share with me wisdom that they've earned along the way that I hadn't got to yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, without humility, you're just like a rubber ball bouncing wisdom off of yourself as you're moving through life.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most, yeah, definitely one of the most important qualities. Um, and it makes sense that so many highly successful and inspiring people um, embody that.
I agree 100%. And I do think it's one of your superpowers, especially being the young, successful, attractive, nice person that you are.
Hmm.
You could come with an attitude or a way of being that would make you not approachable. But I see you as somebody who is very curious, very open-minded, very willing to see things from a variety of perspectives. Just watching you like in a workshops, asking questions and just being so open to being vulnerable too. Um, I really do see that as one of your superpowers, and
Hmm.
that it's probably one of the things that makes you as successful is just because you're willing to be open and humble and not have it all figured out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have it all figured out.
I don't, does anybody?
So,
Just,
yeah,
but you're willing,
yeah,
the willingness and the openness to ask and to share and to look at things from a variety of different perspectives and to push against things when you believe in something. Like, you guys aren't going to make this as a business, this is going to be a nonprofit. Well, hide and watch. I mean, like that
yeah.
where you have a little bit of that fu factor, if you will, or whatever, where it's just like, you're humble enough to take advice but also stubborn enough to know this is still your goal, your journey. Like, there's a dance there, a paradox, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, no one, if you want to do something really big, no one's gonna like change the world for you,
Right?
you
Yeah,
know? Like
exactly.
you have to be willing to trust your own instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if all like as entrepreneurs, if all we did was take other people's advice, it'd just be chaos. You can't um discern a novel new pathway
Mm-mm.
um just by going off of what other people say. Like you have to have your own sense of true north and
Mm-hmm.
be able to trust that. Um, but then yeah, at the same time, like if you're not taking in new information, you're definitely it's gonna die on the vine.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be adaptive and understand your own limits, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not very good at very many things, you know? And for Meow Wolf example, uh to be as successful and impactful as it is, it needs like one Meow Wolf exhibition needs thousands of people who
Mm-hmm.
are very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you're not humble, it's like how can you
Right.
how can you lead that process if you need people who are in maybe uh, a couple hundred different domains,
Right.
each of which you could spend a lifetime mastering. And you need all of those different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you need finance people, and you need marketing people, and you need sculptors and painters and creative technologists and
Mm-hmm.
IT people and real estate developers and electricians and just randomly naming a few of
Right.
like hundreds that are needed. If you go into a conversation with them acting like you know better, yeah, you're not gonna be a very good collaborator with
Not
those people,
right.
and they're not gonna give you their best work if you don't give them the respect of being able to bring their gifts to the table. And at the same time, you have to be able to challenge them and be like, well, even if that's the way that you've always done it, is it possible that there's a better way for us to do that now?
Right.
And to me, that's more about asking questions than it is about having answers.
Yeah.
It's about having a mindset that's like, okay, there's a reason that things have been done the way they've been done.
Mm,
Um, and that deserves respect. Like you don't want to be oblivious to that,
right.
because there's good reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not asking, um, okay, well, how can we do this better today? Because all those reasons, some of them may not be relevant today.
Right.
Um, if you're not asking those questions, then you're not able to unlock those really interesting new opportunities.
Right. So good. So good. I think there's so many nuggets that you've left here for our listeners. I'm so grateful for you to be here on the podcast. I have a couple more questions before we
Yeah,
finish
great.
this.
Let's do it.
What's the worst leadership advice you've ever gotten?
I love that question. Um, it's kind of leadership advice. It's more it's more like life advice, although it's related.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had when I was in my early 20s, I was like hungry for a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I was like almost like desperate. I was like I realized like and looking back, I'm like so grateful that that clicked online at that point in my life.
Yeah.
I just felt like there's all these people out there that are doing amazing things. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And um can I talk to one of them? Could they kind
Mm-hmm.
of help me get into that track of like doing really cool big things? And I spoke to a really successful artist and who I really looked up to a lot and still do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I asked him to be my mentor, and um, he was flattered and he accepted, and it was a really great experience. It was the first time I'd asked someone to be my mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and but then he gave me some really some really bad advice. I said I want to be where you are, you know, like how do I get there? And he said, well, here's what I did, and here's what I think you should do too. He said, find the thing that will make you the most money as fast as possible and spend like 15 or 20 years doing that. And just make as much money as you can. And then um, you can retire young and you can go do whatever you want. And the irony of this advice is that he's a pretty like he was a pretty successful painter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I don't know that he needed a lot of money to be successful, but I mean, it's fair that you need to be able to cover your own costs for a while as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
typically,
Yeah. Right.
in some way, however you can do that. Um, but I remember him telling me that, and I thought, I think this is the last time that we meet. You as my mentor. I was like, definitely not going to do that. I'm 100% not going to take that advice.
There's
And I
that
didn't.
stubborn side. There's that stubborn side that you need. Right. 100% not going to take that advice. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Like I had always like I had this like this thing that I've done for most of my life, which is think about when I'm weighing a really big decision in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine being at the end of my life,
Mm-hmm.
having lived a really rich, long, full life, a life that I am just deeply proud of,
Mm-hmm.
and a life that I could let go of with a certain like easefulness, knowing that I lived really well.
Right.
And that version of me is laying on his deathbed and has, you know, short amount of time
Mm-hmm.
before he's gonna pass. And I go ask him, what do you want me to do? And uh that exercise has never let me down.
I love it so much.
Um, and and thinking about that advice to just make as much money, because of that practice, um, even in my early 20s, I was like, I've been very attuned to my mortality
Hmm.
and just orienting myself to like, well, we don't know how much time we have, and like we can't take this stuff with us,
Hmm.
you know? And so what if that's all true, then what really matters right now, you know? And
Right.
so it was just like, and what didn't even occur to me, um, that that would be my path.
Hmm.
When he gave me that advice, it was like, I could die tomorrow. Like I need to make sure the way I spent today, is going to, um, give me the greatest odds of being at peace with that whenever it comes.
Oh, that's why you're so good and such a wise young
Hmm.
individual. I love it. I love when I
Mm,
find like you're an old soul, is what I would call you.
mm,
Um, just wiser than you would think on paper, right? Like
mm.
just um and that I don't know why I even say why than what you would think, but I think sometimes we do get caught into generational things and not seeing people as souls and beings and just, really realizing that we're all on this journey in different places and some people can be way younger and way ahead of us more spiritually or attuned to, different based on their experiences that they've had and what they've had to overcome in their lives, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that compliment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know exactly who or what to give credit to. If I have if I have any wisdom in me, yeah, just yeah, grateful for
Yeah.
wherever that may come from. I certainly
Well,
don't feel comfortable taking credit for it.
well, I appreciate it. One more last question. Best leadership advice you've ever gotten?
Hmm. The smartest and most competent person in the room is often the one listening.
Mhm.
Yeah. The person who's like got to take up a lot of space and wants to be seen as the whatever alpha or leader, or the person who has a compulsion to be to dominate a group, um, is often the most insecure. And the people who can sit back and listen and offer very thoughtful moments of input, um, tend to be the most impactful. It's kind of like a tortoise and the hare kind of a thing. Like,
Mhm.
um, the tortoise will catch up when the hare is done expelling all this uh, unnecessary energy. Um, yeah, and I've seen that one play out firsthand lots of times over.
Yeah, that is such good advice. I think Adam Grant, he's an organizational psychologist. I think it's him that says the most incompetent people are usually the most confident. And I think that there is something to that. There is some insecurity and some over speaking and those types of things. And I really do think that the more you become wise and start to understand, it really does take more questions and more asking and more being curious than being the one who knows everything, right? Because none of us do. Maybe one little area of life we're good at.
Totally.
Like I might have this
No.
little area of good things that I know, but there's so much. And even when I dive down that rabbit hole, the more I learn, the more I know I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it takes way more, I think it takes way more discipline and awareness to stay with the questions, to stay with the openness to
Mm-hmm.
possibility. It's really easy. We have to do this from an evolutionary perspective. We are constantly snap judging situations.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot consciously focus on all of the sensory data that's streaming into our bodies at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. We have to label, we have to put things into boxes,
Mm-hmm.
we have to make assumptions. This is a base survival mechanism that our
Yeah.
nervous system has to do to keep us safe. And so it actually takes a lot of effort and diligence to stay or try to stay in a space of openness
Mm-hmm.
and receiving new information, and not just defaulting to our kind
Mm-hmm.
of evolutionary biological impulse
Yeah.
to make a quick judgment and move on.
Wouldn't you say that's more of a practice too? Because you catch yourself like jumping to an answer. I mean, well, at least when I think about myself, I'll jump to an answer or I think I know or whatever. And then it's like, whoa, whoa. Sometimes it's just a practice of just slowing down instead of going there because you know and just asking more questions. I'm learning that I'm unlearning a lot of things.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a practice and it's so imperfect.
Yeah.
I'm constantly doing it. Everybody is. There's
Yeah.
no, and I don't know that we're gonna necessarily like be perfect in our,
Mm-mm.
expression of that
No.
intention. That's very much a practice. It's something that,
Mm-hmm.
and I do feel like it is like a muscle that can be trained. It can be cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's true, I feel um like I have a lot more muscle building to do in that department. Like I
Yeah.
can see how much value is there, and I still constantly catching myself
Yeah.
jumping to conclusions, and then there's also like the reality of leading groups, which is you have to make decisions.
Right.
You can the other end of the spectrum is also very dysfunctional,
Yeah.
and in some ways, the person who will just snap to a judgment, make a decision, move on is more effective than someone who doesn't have the confidence or capacity to make a decision when there isn't necessarily a really obvious one that's emerged after you've collected a lot of information. And I've seen that too so many
Mm-hmm.
times, like just full analysis paralysis, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we just need a little bit more information. At the end of the day, you've got to trust your gut and make a
Mm-hmm.
decision and move on.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a balance to
Life
be
has
had
so
there.
many paradoxes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's learning to
Yeah, to me, I always think like if you're like tuning to a paradox, you're getting to something that's really good,
Yes.
that's really rich. Like
Yeah,
that's where I feel like all the good stuff is.
it is right in the middle of that paradox, straddling the line.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and just for sharing your wisdom and just for being the light that you are. And I'm really
Mm,
grateful that I got to know you personally. And
mm. Likewise.
I've since got to go to Meow Wolf in Santa Fe,
Oh,
and
cool.
that was awesome at the reunion when I saw you there. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, of course.
and it was incredible. And I sense one of our gals that works with us was just at the Denver Meow Wolf, and she said it was incredible. So I'm excited to go there when I hit these other cities and just know that that was part of your legacy. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think this offering is going to be really well received from our listeners. And if you're listening and you found this podcast to be helpful, I ask you to please share it with somebody. Please like and subscribe. This is an offering of wisdom and purpose, and just helping people to find tools and trips for their journey. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much.